Hello everyone, welcome back. Today we will read one of the most important books in modern literature, 1984 by George Orwell. This book takes you to a very different and dystopian world. In this world, everyone is watched all the time. The government is called the party, and their leader is a figure called Big Brother. Even your thoughts are controlled by the thought police. The main character of the novel is a man named Winston Smith. He works in an office. Winston wonders what the truth is, and he secretly starts to rebel against this controlled world. This book is not just an old story. It also tells us a lot about topics like control, like information, and reality in our own world today. I also included 20 flashcards about the unknown words in the book, so you can learn new words. Yes, if you are ready, let's start. Winston Smith lived in London in the year 1984. The city was grey and dirty. Big Brother's face was on posters everywhere, watching everyone. Winston worked at the Ministry of Truth. His job was to change old news stories to make them agree with what the party said today. The party controlled everything. What people thought, what they said, and what they remembered. Winston wrote in his diary secretly. This was against the law. If the thought police found his diary, they would take him away forever. Winston's apartment had a telescreen on the wall. The telescreen showed party programs all day. It also watched Winston and listened to everything he said. Winston could never turn off the telescreen. The party wanted to watch people all the time. Sometimes Winston felt like the telescreen could read his thoughts. Winston tried to sit where the telescreen could not see him well. He wrote bad things about Big Brother in his diary. He knew this was very dangerous. Winston met a girl named Julia at work. She had dark hair and worked in the fiction department. At first, Winston thought Julia was watching him for the party. One day, Julia gave Winston a note. The note said, "I love you." Winston was very surprised and excited. Love was not allowed by the party. Winston and Julia planned to meet in secret. They had to be very careful. If anyone saw them together, they would both be in big trouble. Winston and Julia met in the countryside outside London. They found a beautiful place with trees and flowers. Julia brought real coffee and sugar, things that were very rare. They talked and laughed together. Julia told Winston she had loved many men before. This made Winston happy because it meant she was against the party rules. Winston felt free for the first time in years. He and Julia promised to love each other, even if the party tried to stop them. Winston found an old shop in the poor part of the town. The shop owner, Mr. Charrington, was a friendly old man. He sold old things from before the party came to power. Winston bought a glass paperweight with a piece of coral inside. Mr. Charrington told him stories about the old days when life was different. Mr. Charrington showed Winston a room upstairs. The room had no telescreen. Winston thought this would be a perfect place to meet Julia secretly. Winston and Julia began meeting in the room above Mr. Charrington's shop. They felt safe there because there was no telescreen watching them. Julia brought food and they pretended to be a normal couple. They talked about their dreams and made plans for the future. They knew their love was dangerous, but they didn't care. Winston told Julia about his past. He remembered his mother and sister, but he wasn't sure if his memories were real or not. O'Brien was an important man in the inner party. Winston thought O'Brien must be against Big Brother too. Winston had seen something in O'Brien's eyes that seemed different. One day, O'Brien spoke to Winston at work. He asked Winston to come to his house to get a new dictionary. Winston thought this might be a signal that O'Brien was part of the Brotherhood. The Brotherhood was a secret group that fought against Big Brother. Winston hoped it was real and that O'Brien could help him join it. Winston and Julia went to O'Brien's house. O'Brien lived in luxury with real wine and good food. He told them he was part of the Brotherhood. O'Brien asked if they would do anything to fight Big Brother. He asked if they would kill, lie, and hurt innocent people. Winston and Julia said yes to everything except one question. O'Brien gave Winston a book written by Emmanuel Goldstein, The Enemy of Big Brother. The book will teach them the truth about the party. Winston read Goldstein's book in the secret room. The book explained how the party stayed in power. It said the party created wars to keep people afraid. The book said there were 3 superstates in the world: Oceania, Eurasia, and Eastasia. They were always fighting each other, but the wars never really ended. Winston learned that the party didn't want to make life better. The party only wanted power. The purpose of power is power, the book said. While Winston was reading to Julia, soldiers suddenly broke into the room. Mr. Charrington came upstairs, but he looked different now, younger and harder. Mr. Charrington was a member of the Thought Police. He had been watching Winston and Julia all the time. The room had a hidden telescreen behind a picture. Winston and Julia were arrested. They were taken to different places. Winston realized that the party had known about them from the beginning. Winston was taken to the Ministry of Law, the place where the party punished people. It was a terrible place with no windows and bright lights that never went off. Winston was put in a cell with other prisoners. Some prisoners were beaten. Others just disappeared and never came back. Winston waited and waited. He didn't know what would happen to him. He was hungry and scared, but he still loved Julia and hated Big Brother. O'Brien came to Winston's cell, but now Winston understood the truth. O'Brien was not part of the Brotherhood. He worked for the Thought Police. O'Brien said he had been watching Winston for 7 years. Everything had been a trap. The Brotherhood didn't exist. O'Brien had written Goldstein's book himself. Winston felt broken and betrayed. Everything he had believed was a lie. O'Brien told him that now his real education would begin. O'Brien took Winston to room 101. This was the worst place in the Ministry of Law. In room 101, people faced their worst fear. O'Brien knew that Winston's worst fear was rats. He brought a cage full of hungry rats and put it near Winston's face. The rats wanted to eat Winston's eyes. Winston couldn't bear it. He screamed, "Do it to Julia, not me. Do it to Julia." At that moment, Winston betrayed the person he loved most. After room 101, Winston was released. He sat in the Chestnut Tree Cafe every day, drinking gin and playing chess by himself. Winston had become fat and sick. He didn't care about anything anymore. Sometimes he saw Julia, but they didn't talk. They had both betrayed each other. Winston's love for Julia was dead. He felt nothing when he looked at her. The party had destroyed everything good inside him. Winston watched the telescreen in the cafe. It showed news about the war. Oceania had won a great victory against Eurasia. Winston felt happy about the victory. He realized that he now loved Big Brother. All his hatred was gone. The party had won completely. Winston remembered fighting against Big Brother. But those feelings seemed like a dream from long ago. Now there was only love for Big Brother. Winston learned to believe whatever the party told him. If the party said 2 and 2 make 5, then it was true. The party could change the past, the present, and the future. Winston's job was to help make these changes. He worked hard and felt proud of his work. Winston no longer thought dangerous thoughts. His mind was clean and pure, just like the party wanted. Everywhere Winston went, he saw Big Brother's face. On posters, on coins, on telescreens, Big Brother was always watching. Winston felt safe, knowing that Big Brother was watching him. Big Brother loved him and would protect him from enemies. Winston was grateful for Big Brother's care. Winston taught children to love Big Brother too. He told them that Big Brother was their friend and would always take care of them. In 1984, the world was perfect because the party made it perfect. There was no crime, no war, no hunger. At least that's what the party said. Winston believed everything the party told him. When the news changed, Winston changed his memories to match the new truth. Winston was happy because he was part of something bigger than himself. He was part of the party, and the party was eternal. Winston learned to speak Newspeak, the party's new language. Newspeak had fewer words than Old English. With fewer words, people could think fewer dangerous thoughts. Many old words were disappearing. Words like freedom, democracy were being forgotten. If there was no word for something, people couldn't think about it. Winston helped create the new dictionary. He felt proud to help make the language purer and simpler. Winston Smith was dead, even though his body still lived. The man who had loved Julia and hated Big Brother was gone forever. In his place was a new person who loved only the party. This new Winston would never think bad thoughts or love anyone more than Big Brother. He was perfect. Winston looked at Big Brother's picture and felt tears of joy in his eyes. He had won the victory over himself. He loved Big Brother.